From first to worst, the news is all blues for Cracker Barrel, as now we're beginning to find out just how badly they're losing customers. Yes, they briefly became woke, and then no joke, they pulled a 180. But folks, we're here to tell you that crowds are not delighted. They're not coming back for the cornbread nor for the biscuits. And Cracker Barrel is now facing a Bud Light kind of future. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Pro Channel, where we continue to do what we do, which is to bring you the news that you need to know. Let's dive in yet again, this time with your friends at Cracker Barrel and how they're doing under the authority of a super woke Karen kind of CEO. Drop a like button smash down there, and the time is ripe to click the hype button. Folks, your comment is coveted. And here we go. From the New York Post, Cracker Barrel has been dethroned as the fastest growing U.S. breakfast chain as Republican diners flee over logo fiasco. Now, I don't think it's just Republican diners. I don't believe that for a second. But folks, that's how they're going to present it. Let's tell you what's going on. They've got the Bud Light effect. They've got the Jaguar impact happening. And if you doubted for a minute that they had to, they were forced to go back on what they had decided to do, betting the entire farm on those changes. Well, folks, they were required to do so because they dropped from first to worst. Cracker Barrel dropped from the fastest growing U.S. breakfast chain to last place as Republican customers fled in the wake of its woke logo fiasco, even after it backtracked on its controversial moves, according to data shared with the Post. The Southern-style dining chain, known for its chicken fried steak, biscuits, and grits, saw its growth rate plunge 8% from mid-August to early September, knocking it off its top spot as the fastest-growing breakfast chain tracked by the research firm Consumer Edge. Waffle House, meanwhile, they're winning. Waffle House enjoyed a 1% uptick in sales growth, taking over the top spot and knocking Cracker Barrel to the bottom of the pack below IHOP and tied with Denny's. Okay, so here's the deal. They're claiming that it's Republicans, that it's conservatives that stopped going to Cracker Barrel. I'm going to disagree, because I believe that whenever you get into these kind of drama situations, you get hurt by everybody. So yes, the conservatives said, no, we're not going to go. But I'm here to tell you, Cracker Barrel likely dropped on all places because they had to backtrack. And what did that do, Vash? When a company moves perceivably to the left, and then they have to backtrack, what does the left do? We've seen it with Jimmy. What'd they do, Vash?
Well, when they don't forgive.
That's right.
That's not something they do right there. I think what Jimmy Kimmel is interesting with the left has done right there, because when they originally, I guess Disney, that is, suspended Jimmy Kimmel's programming. Oh, the left was outraged, and then bring him back. Obviously, you're going to get a bump, but then we all predict that's going to decline rapidly. So with this, is very, very interesting, because they not only, I think, in my opinion, I think they kind of bumped both sides with this one. I really, really do. I think there was a pretty good cross section here that felt that Cracker Barrel was losing its unique identity, and maybe within some circles problematic. Okay, or maybe didn't appeal to that West Coast crowd right there. But I had to think that mostly like independents or the normies, right? I think they were affected by this. I think there was a certain segment on the left and definitely on the right for sure. The question now becomes is who will, return to embrace them after all of this? I really don't know the answer to that question.
Right. I don't think many people are racing to get back to Cracker Barrel. Michelle, this was a hard-earned, beloved brand. I mean, they spent decades getting people to say Cracker Barrel is my place to be for those what do you call them? They're not stacked pancakes. Are they shingled? Is that what we call them? Shingled pancakes? How they stack them off to the side? They're off center. Anyway, people really had this affinity for Cracker Barrel, and they decimated it. And what we've seen in the past, Michelle, is that when Disney does a woke movie, for example, let's say they put out Lightyear: A Strange World, the difference in what a movie that is unwoke, just normal, traditional values, what it does for Pixar versus what one of those does is astronomical. So like Disney will put out a non-woke, well, think about this, Inside Out 2, and it'll do 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 billion dollars. And then they'll put out Strange World, and it will struggle to make $100 million. Well, that's like a chasm. That is, it's not as if you look at it and say, oh no, we're going to lose 10%. It's like, no, you're going to exist or you're not. That's how much people don't like this stuff. Cracker Barrel, Michelle, went from first place for breakfast restaurants to last place in a single quarter. Michelle, can they come back from that?
I think they probably can, but it takes some time and some goodwill. And they began the goodwill by just reversing it. I mean, that's kind of things we don't ever see. You mentioned Disney. We don't see that out of Disney. They may occasionally make a movie that doesn't have their agenda in it, but they don't really ever publicly acknowledge or apologize or truly step out of it. So I think they took a good step with that. But I think it'll just take time. It's like you said, once you do this, it just kind of gets in people's minds and they're upset. And I think the people have expressed that. But I would say if they just continue in the right direction, and then I think people eventually will return.
So, Nat, let's talk about just how unpopular going woke is. And people said that this was a woke change for Cracker Barrel. Some people have disagreed about that. But what did Cracker Barrel do? Cracker Barrel came in and threw away the authentic and replaced it with plasticky kind of items, right? They took down real shovels and items and pictures from the 1930s. They replaced it with little Hobby Lobby style picture frames, and they glued rolling pins to it. Now, why? I don't know, but that's what they decided to do. And they got rid of Uncle Herschel. It's like getting rid of Colonel Sanders for KFC. They did all of these changes that were intended to be very modern. They said that Cracker Barrel, its old style, was irrelevant these days. And Nat, the result has been that year to date, Cracker Barrel is down 21%. That's 1/5 of its entire company value down year to date. So Nat, I got to ask you the question, are companies, and in particular, entertainment and tourism companies, which by the way, I think Cracker Barrel is sort of a tourist company, are the entertainers, are the vacation places figuring out yet that woke, it might be popular in pockets of the United States, it might be popular in some parts of the world, but it is anathema to success across most of the USA. Are they figuring that out yet?
Hopefully, but we also see and saw a lot of the other restaurant chains and fast food chains do these similar changes where they change the style. There's no originality anymore, and they all look the same. And I guess people were still liking and wanting to go to the Americana style, old style that was Cracker Barrel. And that was one of the things that distinguished it from everywhere else, which now looks the same anyways. And at the same time, there were rumors and stuff coming out even beforehand about the quality of the food. And if they had just focused on the quality of the food, they could now maybe try to bring back customers by saying, hey, we changed our menu, we improved in XYZ, we're not using, I don't know, seed oils or whatever they want to do it. But if they focus on the food, because at the end of the day, they're a restaurant, maybe they can pull back some of the people on both sides, really, that got mad for both things, for going one way and then going back the other way.
You bring up a fantastic point, and it's one that we need to point to more. There's an opportunity here. And, we don't want to just be negative. We always want to find the sunny side of life. I'm a sunny side up kind of egg guy as well. So here's the thing that I'm thinking about is you're talking about the blandification, right? You're talking about all these restaurants that decided that they didn't need to look unique anymore. People talk about Pizza Hut. They miss the jukebox. They miss the colored glass chandelier over the top. They miss the little red cups, not the solo cups. That's the wrong red cup. But and people miss the old McDonald's and stuff. I think there's an opportunity here for businesses, for restaurants to realize that having something unique, having a brand identity that people can feel that there's a different atmosphere, I think that's the way forward. I actually think that this fond remembrance of the 80s, that people are looking to do that again, and that's part of what made the 80s special and the 90s, was that you walked into a restaurant, you walked into a business, and it might have been ugly. It might have been, a little bit on the hokey side. But by golly, you knew where you were when you walked in. You didn't have to look at the menu to say, oh, am I at a pizza place or a sushi? I don't remember anymore. What do you all think about that? Is this the time for businesses to dive in hardcore into what makes them be the place that people want to go through the door to see?
Well, there's also, we're seeing this revival of people going all for nostalgia. And we see that old movies in movie theaters doing great numbers, better than new movies that are coming out. And the main stark difference for me was in Canada, they did the same thing with all the McDonald's. But here in Mexico, we still have some of the original McDonald's from the 90s with the characters and with the play places. And just the difference in going to those versus the new ones that look like everything else is it feels different. And Nat, I don't know if
I don't know if you know this, Nat, but in America, they've just finished a campaign for McDonald's where they brought back Ronald McDonald and the McDonald Land characters, and they had a special milkshake that celebrated it. And I just thought, maybe these companies are figuring out, hey, we want you to be weird. It's what makes you special. You don't all have to look like your first watch, or, that you came out of some sort of magnolia farm in Texas. You don't all have to look exactly the same anymore.
Yeah, brutalist architecture, I believe, is what we call it, or minimalistic, right? And there was an era of maximalism, I suppose, in the 90s. But people, I think, like Nat said so beautifully, people like nostalgia. People like walking back into their childhoods, and they definitely like identity, and they like authenticity, and they like something that's different right there. So this blandification, this attempting to be like everybody else, like you've so brilliantly pointed out, Pro, with First Watch and everything. It's just like, why walk into there is going to be the question to on everybody's mind when trying to distinguish Cracker Barrel from any of the other breakfast joints. And people, I think, are getting a little bit more tuned into what like unique offerings they have locally and so forth. So you really do have to kind of step out and present yourself as something unique, identifiable, and something that brings you in there. And as people have beautifully pointed out, I understand the consumer base was walking away from Cracker Barrel for a period of time, which is partially why they felt the need to update. But food quality should have been the main focus, not your basically brand identity.
Yeah, and I would just say, folks, if you'll humor me, let me see if I can extrapolate this to even more mediums. And you see if I've gone too far. I may. But I think that there's connective tissue between this and what we've watched in entertainment. I believe that when you went and you saw the sequel trilogy and you came up with a bad taste in your mouth from seeing it, I think that's partly because you said, I don't know who Rey is. I don't think she has an identity. I don't know what obstacles she overcame. I don't think that she is authentic in the way that I am. And I think that the movies that we've been watching for the past 10 years, many of them have done that. If they went the opposite way, if they gave us, for example, a Top Gun Maverick, it felt like, hey, I know this guy, and hey, I think he's real. He actually cares about people. He's got something he has to overcome. I can identify with that. I think that it's not just Cracker Barrel. It's not just Bud Light. It's not just the movies. I think this all is kind of connected together. There's two things, companies, that you need to do to get things right and not go from first to worst as Cracker Barrel has done. And that is, I believe, you have to have an identity. That identity has to be different than other brands. And then you have to have authenticity. You have to be real. We don't want plastic. We don't want fake. We want you to break the mold and be who you are truly. And then people will love going and experiencing that. And hey, Disney, before you decide that you're going to tear apart Frontierland, oh wait, you already did, maybe take a look at what Cracker Barrel did, because it's exactly what you plan to do to the happiest place on earth. Great idea? Maybe not this time, Disney. And yet again, folks, we have come to the end. But what a video it has been, and we hope you agree. Folks, if you had a good time with us, consider clicking that like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell, and drop a comment right on down below. We care about your thoughts. Folks, we also want to invite you to partake in thatparkplace.com. Of course, www. You get the idea. Thatparkplace.com. It is the website telling the truth, and it is a rising star across the web for pop culture news coverage and analysis. Go over there and bookmark it today. Folks, we're bookmarking you as a great guest that we appreciate. Until the next time we have the honor of spending time with you, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, folks, you better believe it, keep having fun. Jump into the water!
Why listen to music made by people and companies who really don't like you? Check out Vacation Radio today and prepare for all new content made by the people behind the WDW Pro Channel. It's the place you need for all the music. That should be fun. Hundreds of songs, every genre you can imagine. Listen live on YouTube and enjoy a set list that's always sunny. It's Vacation Radio. What are you waiting for? Every WDW Pro video has a link to Vacation Radio in the video description. Try it out and subscribe today.